Let's say you search and search and search, you try on different detective hats, and you can't find your business on Google at all. And usually this is going to be the case, as I mentioned in earlier modules, if you've got a new business that you're setting up, or if you've been pretty doggone successful in keeping your business a secret. Well, in either case, what you need to do is now set up a business from scratch. We're going to go back to business.google.com, and then we're going to log in where it says sign in up at the top right. And in order to do that, we need a valid Google account. Well, what is a valid Google account? It's basically any email address that you can sign into Google with. Now, this is a no-brainer if you've got a Gmail address. However, some companies might, for example, be set up with Google to manage their business email. For example, at Horizon Web Marketing, we use G Suite, a Google tool, in order to manage our email. And so my email address, ross@Horizon Web Marketing, is recognized by Google, and I can sign into Google with it. But if you just have, for example, a Yahoo account or a Hotmail account or some other email account you set up with, you're probably not going to be able to log into Google with that. The easy solution is go ahead and create a Gmail account. What we did at Horizon Web Marketing, just to make things easy to manage our various clients, is that we have a Gmail account called horizonwebmarketing@gmail.com, and that's the one that we use to manage all of our clients on Google My Business. So once you have that valid Google account, you go ahead and you log in. Now, if you've never done this before, if you've never managed a Google My Business listing, then Google is going to assume that what you want to do is add a new business, and they'll give you this prompt. They'll ask you, well, hey, what's the name of your business? And then you can start setting up a business from scratch. As you start typing in the business name in the box that they have there, Google is going to start giving you some suggestions. In this case, I typed in Search Engine Academy, and you'll notice here that it gives me two different choices with the exact same name. One of them is Search Engine Academy, Grand Junction, Colorado, USA. That's the only match that they have anywhere in the United States for Search Engine Academy. And they also are going to allow me that I can create a business with this name, because often businesses will have the same name, but they'll be different businesses. I used to be in the bicycle business. We sold to bicycle shops regularly. It's amazing how almost every town in America has a bicycle shop called The Bike Shop. So if you typed in The Bike Shop, you'd get a whole lot of choices, and you might need to create a business with that name. If you do see yours, however, with your city and state, then go ahead and select that. Once you select that, you've got a couple of different paths that are going to be defined by how you answer this next question. Notice that the next question is, do you want to add a location that customers can visit? So this would be, if you want to select yes on this, if you do serve walk-in customers. A good example of this would be a restaurant. Although in the age of COVID, that might be a little bit in question, but typically in any other normal year, that's the type of business where you do serve walk-in customers. Any retail store is going to be the same way, that has a showroom and so forth. And once you select that choice, then Google is going to give you, logically, the opportunity to enter the address where those customers can visit you. Now let's take the example of a restaurant. Nowadays, often restaurants will serve people as walk-in customers, but they also will do deliveries. What about that situation? Well, Google has anticipated your need, and the very next choice is going to ask you, well, okay, you serve them at this location. What about outside the location? Do you serve them somewhere else? And you can select a choice there. Yes, I also serve them outside my location. And if you select that choice, you're going to be able to specify any number of areas. In the case of Search Engine Academy, we do training workshops in various cities. So this is just an example of 3 that we've entered. If you're in for example, a metro area or a city, even a rural area, you might be putting in the names of surrounding towns, anywhere where you might, for example, using the restaurant as another example, anywhere where you would take deliveries would be entered as the service areas. And then Google will take a look at that, and they'll make a decision about whether they want to show your listing to people who are in those areas when they're conducting a search. Let's go back to the beginning. In case you don't serve customers at your place of business, let's I'll use my tried and true example of a plumber. A plumber may have a yard, but typically a plumber is going to come to you. You're not going to take your toilet to a plumber. So once you select no in this case, that you don't serve customers at your place of business, then your next choice is going to be skipping the address field, and it's going to ask you where you do serve them. And then we're back to this selection of areas that you can put in. Now, either way, Google's going to ask you what region your business is based in. Keep in mind, this is one of the few areas of Google My Business that you cannot change once you select it. I want you to keep in mind the purpose of this region. The region has nothing to do with helping Google to show businesses to the proper customers. Google wants you to select the region because the types of services that Google offers through their Google My Business tool varies a lot depending on the country you're in. And so usually this is going to be a country. For example, Google My Business is very, very robust in the United States. You can tie in all sorts of advertising and so forth. But if you were in some place like Croatia, then Google My Business is going to give you far fewer options. So this is more to give Google an idea of what type of Google My Business services you're going to get rather than anything to do with your customers. So typically just you're going to select your country and move on, and remember, you can't change this. A real critical choice is what category that you pick for your business. What makes this a real challenge is the fact that Google will only let you select from business categories that they already have in their listing. In this case, for Search Engine Academy, I typed in as a business category SEO Workshop Training. That's kind of what's defined the Search Engine Academy since 2002. If I was setting up a listing for Horizon Web Marketing, I might put in something like Digital Marketing Agency or something like that. But Google tells me very unhelpfully, we didn't understand your category. Please select from the suggestions that appear. So I went back and I started typing SEO, and even more unhelpful are these suggestions. Notice, secondary school 3, really? That's a category? Sexologist, seasonal goods store. None of these things, of course, have anything to do with SEO. You might have to type in different choices, go back and forth in order to find something, get kind of creative in order to find something that's the best fit for your particular business. Now, later on, you can change this. Hell or high water, you got to select something. In our case, in the case of the Search Engine Academy, what I ended up with would be probably the same thing that I would do for our agency, Horizon Web Marketing, and that is Internet Marketing Service. What you can do is you can add more later, or just let your listing sit there and incubate for a while, and Google will come back and offer some more suggestions. And you can see that in orange down here below under additional categories. Whenever you see something in orange, that's Google offering you some sort of suggestion, either because a user has suggested an edit or Google themselves applying all of their filtering and AI and all their deep learning is going to tell you what would be best or what might apply to your particular business. And here we can see for the Search Engine Academy, I've got one suggestion that's good and one suggestion that's bad. Training school, yeah, that's actually a pretty good suggestion, but not consultant. The Search Engine Academy does not do consulting typically. Now for Horizon Web Marketing, if I was going through this, both of those would apply because we do SEO training, but we also operate as a consultant. Once you've entered that information, the next step is to enter your contact information. And Google will allow you to be able to enter a phone number, will allow you to enter your current website URL, but notice that there is a choice there in case you don't have a website. You can set up a Google My Business listing with no website at all. So having a website is not a prerequisite. If you're a small business and you haven't had the budget or the time to set up a website, don't let that deter you from going ahead and setting up your Google My Business listing. Now, finally, once you've done that, Google doesn't allow you to just create businesses out of thin air. They actually are going to ask you to verify that your business is for real. We'll talk about verification a little bit later, but What I'm going to say is if you're setting up a new business at this point in time, I'm going to recommend that you select the choice that says later, verify later. Now the reason for that is that in a moment, I'll show you how you can go through and optimize your listing. Now, once you click the Verify Later button, Google, in effect, is going to freeze your listing at that point. They're going to walk you through a process of verification. You can see here one of the primary steps is postcard. You're going to have to wait for that postcard to come. Then you're going to have to verify your listing before you can make further edits. I mean, you can make the edits, but Google will basically hold on those edits till you get the verification in. On the other hand, if you go through and optimize your listing and then verify, everything's going to get verified at once. So that's why I'm recommending that you do the verify later. We'll do a module on verifying as our very next module up. So I'll see you when we come into that module.